Mortgage payments are almost $1,000 more since last year. And Fox News actually put out this graphic saying August 2021, $1,358 per month monthly payment at a 2.8% rate. Right now, as of today-ish, because this is a couple weeks old, $2,202 monthly payment. That's crazy. I'm sure a lot of people are understanding it's more, but can we dive into this and what it means and what's next?
Yeah, the Federal Reserve jumped in and they shoved interest rates up. So a year ago, interest rates were, 3%. Today, the average person is getting 7 or above. So interest rates for the average person more than doubled. So they sent out this tweet, and you sent this to me and you're like, holy cow, interest rates, look what they did. Everyone's payment almost doubled. Well, the thing to understand is this is for the average price home in America, which is $410,000. Here in the Seattle Metro, when we're talking a $700,000 house, this is more like $1,500 to $1,600 a month jump. So what this is doing is it's causing multiple things to happen. One, it's causing the buyer demand to go down because they just don't qualify. Two, it's causing the move-up seller to get stuck in their home and not be able to sell. The average person was going to usually trade in their property and maybe pay $400, $500 extra to move up the property ladder. Now it's going to cost them $1,000. So how many people want to spend double what they were going to previously spend?
No one.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not going to happen. So you've got them locked in now. The other thing to understand about this is what it's done to our whole real estate market is the Fed essentially broke housing. We have somewhere around 98% of all homes either have no debt or debt below 4%. So between the no debt and the debt below 4%, those people aren't going to move unless they have a life event. So a lot of real estate right now is the life event real estate. In other words, they have to for one reason or another. This is not a want to market, it's a have to market. And this won't change until interest rates come back down. So you fundamentally locked up about 30% of the market, and that's what's squishing it down, but it's also creating the opportunity. We mentioned this before, but it's totally worth mentioning again. That's what's going to create the opportunity in new construction, in land development, in building a small home, flipping a home, something of that nature, because new construction is stepping up to fill the gap. So for the average person, $1,000. Seattle Metro, $1,500 or more. It's a lot of money.
Crazy. I remember when 7% was, we hit 7%, but it comes back down. Now that's the rate. And one thing I want to follow up on is you said this is for the average buyer. So if you've got a worse credit score,
yes,
it's going to be higher, 8 or 9%.
I spoke with the lender this morning, so I've got an ongoing joke with one of our lenders. I'll call him or I'll see him and I'll be like, why'd you raise interest rates? And so I walked by his office and I was like, hey, thank you for lowering interest rates yesterday. And he laughs and I said, hey, what was the rate kind of range that you did over the last 3 days? He said, we did 6.8 to 8.5. I go, who got the 6.8? 40% down, 800 plus credit score with a minor buy down. I said, okay, cool, makes sense. So that person was able to get under 7. Buy down on that particular example was like $3,500. Not that expensive of a buy down. I said, okay, well, who got the most expensive? It was a state bond program, and here in Washington State, there's a bond program for down payment assistance that can come in and fill that FHA 3.5% down. And so that person was going to get a mortgage at 8.5. So realize when we talk about mortgages, we're talking about just kind of the general range, but there's people always above and below that range depending on income, credit, and the type of loan that they're getting.
And when I hear all this, it just makes me think and believe we won't get to a normal rate of real estate activity and people feeling comfortable to leave their current home for a new home or upgrade, even potentially move, right?
Yeah.
If you're going to make a big move, before it was about your job. Now you're thinking, well, I'd rather just keep my low interest rate and maybe take a different job. How long is this going to take for us to go from the 7, potentially now 8% down to what you said probably 6 months ago, the new normal, which would be 5%. Because the jump from 3 to 5 is a little bit more palatable versus 3 to 8. How long is this going to take, and kind of what kind of circumstances is going to create, and the however much time it's going to take to adjust?
So how long does it take interest rates to move from the 7 to 8% they are today into whatever the new normal is? Let's just call it 5%. That's probably not going to happen until late 24, magically during an election, or the beginning of 25 for us to get back to whatever this new normal rate is, which we predict probably, mid 5s to upper 5s. The second part of that is actually a loaded question that people don't consider. And what they don't fully consider is, at what rate does it unlock the seller who doesn't want to move from their 3%? 5 may not unlock that seller, and I'm going to bet it probably won't, because it's still not enough incentive unless I have a life event to trade in my cheap mortgage. So they're going to have to, have a baby, get a divorce, get a big promotion, something to cause that to happen. So I don't think we fully unlock the market until probably 2026 or 2028, as we get 3 or 4 years of a normal high rate being in the cycle. Then we'll have some potential move up sellers starting to roll back in. But with the Fed keeping interest rates low for that long, they trapped those sellers there. So hear my words. You have 24 months of amazing new construction opportunity in front of you and land development opportunity, and to be an investor. And you still probably have a good 5-year run or a 6-year run because of what the Fed did to housing. This is an opportunity. Like, you need to be capitalizing on that.
Is it true, because I heard this again on a YouTube video, that new construction is actually lower in price in some cases than a normal, resold house? That they're competing against listings that are lived in already.
Generally speaking, new construction is going to be 5 to 10% more than a resale. Most of what you see, though, and this is how sometimes people who are not in the industry misconstrue these numbers, and they get the facts wrong. The facts are kind of simple. New construction builders have a built-in margin inside of the home, and that's going to be anywhere between 10 to 15%. So what they simply do is they can take a little piece of that margin and they can move that over to the buyer's closing costs in order to buy down their interest rate. So if we've got a resale home and it's selling at $700,000, and we've got the new construction that's selling at $725,000 to $770,000, they can actually make that new construction one have a lower payment than the $700,000 one by simply agreeing to buy down the interest rate. When a builder delivers a plat and they've got 30 homes in there, they can go strike a deal with a lender to buy down people's closing costs at a different rate than you and I can if we're just selling one home. Secondly, a lot of these national builders, the D.R. Hortons, the really big builders, they have their own financing arms. So they have their own mortgage companies.
More resources, more options, and they can outcompete just the regular homeowner.
Bingo. So realize a builder will adjust their price faster and do what is necessary to move their product. And builders right now, their margins, they're not as high as they were for a moment, but their profits are going up again. And you just saw, so when the Oracle of Omaha, Warren Buffett, goes and shoves a bunch of money into home builders, you know that new construction is headed in the right direction. That's why I was just telling everyone, you need to go put some money in right now into a land development project, a new construction project. It's going to be phenomenal for the next 24 months.
Yeah, and on that note, as if high interest rates weren't bad enough, the next topic is why are house prices back to new high prices again? That's crazy, right? So you combine it, it's just like really sticking it to these home buyers, especially the new ones.
Logically, this didn't make sense in my brain. Okay. And if interest rates were rising that fast, emotionally, in my brain was telling me the market had to drop to compensate. And the market did. And it actually did across most of the major metros. Then the market hit a base level of demand, where that's the have to move buyers and sellers. That base level of demand, due to lack of supply, has actually caught the market from falling and is causing home prices to go up again. I was talking with an old school builder developer in the area who now only builds to hold. And he's an older gentleman, so he's getting conservative. That's what happens to everyone. He says, Anton, prices have to go down. And I said to him, they're not. He said, they have to. I said, would it be all right if I sent you 20 pages of data demonstrating how it's not, and how new construction is actually in Snohomish County out appreciating, that's the north end of the Seattle metro, out appreciating the market right now? He goes, no way. Send him the email. And P.S., anyone, if you're listening to this and you need some stats on your market, we're happy to get them to you, happy to chat about with these stats. I call him the next day. I said, what'd you think? He goes, you can see it between the actives, the pendings, and the solds. You can watch the price literally moving up. Solds over 90 days, then there was approximately a 9% jump to the pendings, and then from the pendings to the actives, there was another 10% jump. So over a 6-month window of real estate, you were seeing construction prices move almost 20%, which is insane. Now, that's not going to happen in every market. Let's make this clear. The Seattle metro is a very strong, market, so you got to figure out what's happening in your market. But a builder is willing to move his or her prices up or down faster than a traditional home buyer. Unemotional.
Not attached to the property.
So they'll just shove it up. And one of the developments right over here, KB Homes is a national builder. They opened not this weekend, the weekend before last. And during that opening, they sold 10 homes. They literally closed down. Next weekend, prices up $15,000 a home. One weekend to the next. Why? The demand exceeded the supply available, so they just instantly raised their prices. So why are home prices going up? Because we didn't build enough homes in 2008, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And the base level demand of the market of people having to move is higher than the base level supply. Therefore, prices must rise. Blows my mind.
If people want those stats, how do they get a hold of you?
They can send us a text message through the number that's right there in the comments. Also, they can reach us via just Googling our name, sending us a message on any platform. You can get a copy of those stats. We prepare stats for the whole Seattle metro over and over and over again because I'm a numbers junkie. I like doing it. I even go into one of our staff members all the time and I go, can I get another spreadsheet? I want a spreadsheet. And so she helps me build all these funny spreadsheets that we put together.
Interest rates, 7%, in some cases 8%.
Yep.
And we know that the Fed is probably going to either raise it one more time or just not raise it at all and hold for a while. Low inventory is here to stay because people locked into those low interest rates from the past.
Yes.
Third, house prices are back at their highs. Probably not going to skyrocket up, but definitely not necessarily going to go down because of that second part. So isn't it easy to say that right now is a great time to buy? And this is why. If they lower interest rates, which eventually they will, that will have more demand on the market because people can afford it. Well, when people start bidding against each other, house prices go up.
Yep.
Right?
100%.
And then the thing is, even though it's going to go down, you even said it, even if it goes down all the way to 5%, that's still not going to unlock the people at 2 or 3%.
Yep.
So it's this weird vortex that we're in where it's time to actually buy if you really want to get a good deal, if you believe interest rates are not going to go below 5. And if it does, that means house prices will go up.
Yes.
Unless supply gets more.
And we've talked about this in previous episodes. We debunked the Airbnb crash. We've debunked the builder crash. Builders are having a heyday, people. There's no builder crash. We've debunked the foreclosure crash. So we don't have fundamental supply coming, okay? So we know we're going to be in a low supply environment for the foreseeable next few years. So we know we've hit base level demand and we're in a low supply environment. So what you said is 1,000% correct. If interest rates go down, demand will go up. So if I'm a home buyer and I'm thinking, should I buy? Third and fourth quarter of this year is your best opportunity to buy, most likely in the last like 4 or 5 years. Unless you caught that window right there at the beginning of COVID, where everyone was scared and prices dropped a little bit and everyone was scared and panicking. We talked to a investor who actually bought like 2 properties right there at the beginning of COVID. Killed it. He was like, you know what? I just bet some money and, got some awesome deals. But that's what this is. This is that pregnant pause. This is the top of the roller coaster. And yeah, the market and the economy may get a little bit worse, but we already know which direction we're going. And we've already hit the bottom of pricing throughout most of the United States. That means it's go time. I want to flip this around and drop a golden nugget too. Investors right now, that small investor, that medium investor, they are scared. They're pulling back. There's not as much happening. And I don't think there's going to be as much happening until next year. So I actually believe that investors have a larger opportunity in third and fourth quarter of this year than your traditional home buyer. And I believe investors are going to see the biggest opportunity they've seen since probably 2018. Once again, unless you hit that sweet little spot right in the beginning of COVID, because competition is low. And when competition is low, and I know this from both watching the MLS and from my current deal flow. My current deal flow has tripled. So what I'm saying is the just sheer number of deals coming to me. And the more deals that come to me, the more that we can be picky and we can start to squish down and cut tighter margins. There was a deal that was sent to us this week on Tuesday. I look at it and it's a good deal. And I literally tell the person, I want another 70 grand off. And he goes, come on, no way. And I was like, you have to understand, there's probably only 5 buyers and I'm one of them. And so if you don't want to play, I'll just wait because someone's going to play. So it's a little bit, you need to have some patience and you need to slow down and breathe and make sure that your criteria and your goals are clearly outlined so I can make unemotional decisions. I need to push back and I need to make sure I'm getting the best deal possible in that moment. And if that one's not going to work, there's still another one coming. But capitalize. I mean, the time is now.
So investors should call you.
We have, like I just said, I have 3 times as many deals now as I did last year. And probably 6 times as much as the year before. So if you want a deal, call us right now. Let's chat about how we can put a deal together because the game is deal flow. When I have deal flow, I have selection. And when we have investors that we know want to purchase something or want to buy something, we can plug the right people into the right deals. We were joking the other day and standing there in the bullpen in our sales room. And we said, hey, boys and girls, it's time to fill up the whiteboard again. And they said, well, what are we doing? I said, we're going to write all the investors on one side and we're going to write all the deals they want on the other. And every time someone has a deal, we're going to write it up on the board. So we're literally going to have wants, needs, and what we have. And we're just going to start matching them with people. I mean, that's where we're at right now. It's game on.
It's the investor season. It's like hunting season.
It's the best investor season I've seen in 4 years. Let's go.
Well, there you go. Get that phone ringing. Okay, so changing topics a little bit. One of my favorite podcasts called the All In Podcast, and there's a guy named David Sachs.
Yep.
And he's talking about multifamily real estate, specifically commercial real estate capital stacks being upside down because of rates. Can you dive into this and maybe more broadly talk about the significance of commercial real estate and how it may or may not affect just regular residential real estate?
Commercial all survives on debt, and debt survives on an interest rate. And so this gentleman's brilliant. I love the All In podcast. These guys are very entertaining. I also enjoy listening to it too. When Sachs said, hey, capital stacks are upside down, let's just talk about this in the plainest, simplest English possible. What he's saying there is he's saying interest rates have changed. Cap rates have changed. So this is affecting the loan to value of the property. What that means is it means people may have to sell the asset or they may have to do a cash in refi. Let's keep breaking this down so everyone's on the same page. Let's say you've got a $10 million building, and it could be an office building, multifamily, whatever, and you have 20% equity and 80% debt. So you are at 80% loan to value. And that building was performing at a 4% cap rate. And you had 3.5 or 4% commercial debt against it. Well, did commercial debt go up when the Fed raised interest rates?
Yes.
Same thing as the residential. It went up significantly. So commercial debt right now is also in that 7 to 8.5 range. So if you take a $10 million building and it was just at 3% and you had $8 million worth of debt at 3% and now it's 7, did your payment just shoot up huge?
Yeah, you're getting a drink.
Yeah, you're like, pour me another one. So what's happening is now the bank is saying, I want more collateral. Plus the cap rate changed. When the cap rate changes, it actually brings down the value of the building. So if the cap rate changed, that building may now be only worth $9 million instead of 10. And the bank now wants to see a 25% equity. Plus, your cash flow just got annihilated because of the interest rate. So in that example, you would probably have to bring in somewhere between $1 million to $2 million to get that $10 million building back in line in a cash-in refinance if your note comes due. For those of you who don't play in the commercial space, you need to understand that commercial debt comes due on a cycle. Generally speaking, it's like every 5 years. But there is commercial debt that comes due 3, 5, 7, and 10. So it may be amortized over a longer run, but it always comes due. So commercial debt that's coming due in 2023 and 2024 is coming due at a 3% interest rate and lower cap rates because of the exuberance. And now it has to perform at a higher cap rate with a higher interest rate, which is generally going to require more cash. Now, the conservative operators, which were operating at maybe 65% loan to value or 70, they may be fine because maybe it just rose 10% and there's still enough equity there. So the thing you have to be careful of is you have to be careful of your own personal growth rate and greed. Yes, greed is a problem. You also have to be careful of if you're in a syndication or a REIT or a fund. What's the level, the LTV that they're going to carry on that? What's the amount of cash reserves they're going to carry on that? So what we try to do in all of our investments and the investments that we do with other investors is we try to carry a little more cash reserves and we try to carry a little bit less aggressive loan to value. Why is that? Because it's not always going to go up in a straight line. My roommate from college called me and said, yeah, my parents are thinking about buying into this real estate syndication. I said, how long have they been a syndicator? He goes, I don't know. I said, well, if they've only won over the last 5 years when the market was shooting straight up like a rocket, don't do it. If they have a track record and they went through the last recession and they're still an operator today, you're probably safe. They're smart enough to be able to make it through. But this rising tide, this rocket shooting up of real estate made a lot of us look really, really smart. And we weren't smart. The market was just making us look good. Then what they did was they drained all the equity so they could pay out their investors or buy another property, whichever it may be. Well, now the piper is coming due in 23, and it's going to be due in 23, it's going to be due in 24, 25, but it's going to be worse in 3 and 4 because you're going to have the highest interest rates in 3 and 4. The last part of this discussion is anyone that is in a bridge debt. Bridge debt in commercial just means non-permanent debt. They could be doing a value add, they could be doing new construction, whatever it may be. It's non-permanent. All the bridge debt's the same problem. Is the bridge debt is in at a lower rate and now it's coming due and the pro forma was done at a 3% cap rate or a 4% cap rate and now it's going to need to be a 5 or a 6. Commercial real estate is going to have massive problems. I think so. David Sachs in that episode, they asked him to pledge a whole bunch of stocks to essentially personally guarantee the bank's debt with his own assets. I wish I was able to do what he did. He just said, piss off wankers and just paid the building off. We're not there yet, but not everyone's in that same situation. So this next, and it's starting now, this next 6 months, to 2 years, there's going to be opportunity to pick up these assets in the commercial space that are going to come back to market and they're going to come quick because the note is due and they can't do a cash-in refinance, so they're going to have to sell. So you need to be paying attention to this. This is another one of those opportunities. And, they're playing in the really big boy and big girl world where, you've got hedge funds and private equity and all that. The small to medium investor, though, it's going to be massive opportunity. There's nothing to say you couldn't go grab 5 of your homies and go buy a nice multifamily that's popping back to market. This is an opportunity that's going to happen. And you need to get in relationships with your banks. This is a cheat. This is a hack, whatever you want to call it. You need to call your local community bank. You need to find out who's in charge of special assets. That's their title. Hi, Benji. My name's Anton. I know you're in charge of special assets. Do you guys have any non-performing assets on your portfolio or things that you think you're going to have to get rid of? By the way, my investors and I, we are no fuss, no muss. We've got our cash already lined up. We won't jerk you around. You tell me what the deal is. You tell me how long. I'll tell you during your timeline if we can buy it or not, and we'll take it right off of your plate. Do you think that person wants to work super hard, or they just want to get the job done?
Just get the job done.
And then how bad do you think the bank wants their note to be performing?
They want it to perform.
They want it to
badly.
perform now. So what they're going to do is they're either going to extend and pretend, or the second this asset hits their books, they're going to immediately try to get it off their books. Banks are being pinched for their cash right now because they're having to pay high interest on their savings accounts, on their money markets. The Federal Reserve is looking at them and stress testing them. So this is that, opportunity. Call your people in special assets, introduce them. Then you're going to start calling them on a regular basis. You're going to start sending them a letter on a regular basis, and you're going to build a relationship with these individuals.
That's an awesome hack. On that note, and I know we got a couple more topics we want to hit, is commercial real estate's challenges going to affect residential, and how so if that's the case?
Commercial will affect residential if the Federal Reserve lets it get out of control. Understand the commercial market dwarfs the residential market. It's huge. If the Federal Reserve, so what they've done is they've lit the fire, and they're hoping it's a controlled burn. And they're sitting on the sides, digging around it, throwing a little more fuel over here. They got the water trucks over there, aka the money printer. And they're going, yeah, it's a controlled burn. It's not. It's burning out of control. And then you've got other factors like China, wars, things like that may affect that. If they let it get too out of control, absolutely it's going to affect the residential market. However, my personal belief, because you've heard it from me before, is the Fed is most likely done, if not done on the next one. They're just giving us their strong words. And so what's going to happen is that will start to buoy up this wildfire that started in commercial. Of course, with office being the worst part, and then some of these larger multifamilies being the kind of the second domino to fall there. But office is already getting really beat up.
Seems to me that an investor in residential real estate might want to consider multifamily because as inventory is super low, that's going to be in higher demand.
Yes.
Because not as much houses to buy, so they have to rent something.
I think the best way to think about this is if you are already an investor and you own a duplex, a fourplex, or maybe a couple single families, this is one of those opportunities for you to cycle up into the commercial assets. You should be looking at what you have, evaluating the portfolio, and then moving that up into the commercial debt. It's a great opportunity to do that.
Awesome. Did you want to talk about these or leave these for a different recording?
No, let's just pound through these real quick because it's really short.
All right, so we just got a few more topics to hit. First one is the Fed PCE core. If you're not familiar with that, why don't you tell us what it exactly is?
The Fed's favorite metric is PCE. So that's how they're going to measure everything. What happens on the news media is we talk about CPI all the time, but the Fed really cares about PCE. PCE core came in today, and I want to read these numbers off. The 12-month inflation rate for PCE core was 4.2, came in where expected. Core services X housing, aka minus housing, came in at 4.7, which is the highest since February of this year. Housing came in at 7.8. And core goods came in at 1.1, which is the lowest since March of 2021. Housing is getting ready to roll over. Housing makes up a large percent of the core and of CPI. Housing, they do this stupid thing where it kind of lags over 12 months. That's getting ready to roll over, so that number will start to come down. So there's a bear argument here and a bull argument. I want to give you both sides.
Not confusing at all.
Not confusing at all, but I want you to understand both sides so you can make a good judgment call here and realize I'm going to be on the bull side on this one, but I want you to understand how the bears are thinking about this. What the bears are saying is they're saying core services X housing is rising right now. So inflation is not getting under control. They're saying core PCE coming in at 4.2 is not going down fast enough. Therefore, inflation is not under control. They're saying housing is still really high. So CPE and overall inflation is not under control. That is the fundamental bear argument. The bull argument is, boys, let's just do some math. And when you look at it and you take it down to the last 90 days, the last 90 days are showing a downward trend. So the Fed is winning, but it's slow. And then the bears, they go, but it's not happening fast enough. Never in history has inflation gone away fast. It doesn't happen fast. It's slow. It's like an iceberg. It's just slowly moving along. That's okay. So the Fed is giving us the tough talk. It's talk. They are winning. So I am on the bull side of this, especially as a real estate person. The real estate bulls need to be out. Let's go, people. If you don't like making money, I get it. Go be a bear. But the bear arguments are not fully killing off the bull argument here. That's my point. You can be a bear. I'm going to go make money. It's cool. Because in each market in real estate, and we're having this rolling recession. So during that technical recession that happened last year, real estate prices dropped. It's already recovered. Now it's hitting other parts of the market. And the Fed's going to continue the pressure on us. It's okay from a real estate perspective. We're going to do good deals. We're going to buy stuff that cash flows. We're going to make good offers. And you know what? If we got too many deals, my homies and our investors, call us if you need a good deal, are going to get some too. It's so interesting. Like, I watched 5 different YouTubes about this morning, and then I went on Twitter and was reading all the different arguments. And that's exactly that. Cool. Pick a camp you want to bet on and go. On the real estate side, you need to be on the bull side, though, because it's clear that interest rates are peaking. Even if they haven't fully peaked, they're hitting the ceiling, which means the best deals, and we've talked about this, but for those of you who just started listening, in the Great Recession, the best deals were actually bought at the middle and end of the Great Recession in 2010, 11, and 12, not as the economy started recovering and going back up the other side. This one's not going to be any different. We've already seen the price bottom. We see base level demand. We see new construction going up. Therefore, it's go time.
Call Anton. Okay. Next topic is, what is a unique way to find off-market deals?
Real estate agents and real estate investors who are not agents, I think they neglect this one a lot. When a deal is on the MLS, when a listing is on the MLS, it may or may not be a deal. Let's say it wasn't a deal, and let's say it was overpriced. And then that listing becomes a canceled or expired, and it goes off the market. That is someone who has already raised their hand and said, I want to sell. So why don't you pick up the phone as an investor and call that owner of that piece of land, of that multifamily, of that single family, and tell them, hey, I'm an investor. I'd like to make an offer on your property. I see it didn't sell. What's the number you'd be willing to accept? And then shut up. The first words out of their mouth is going to be a little bit of bluster. And then they go, well, I'm only going to accept the, and I'm going to give an exact example. I'm only going to accept the $900,000 it was on the market for before. I said to him, well, sir, the property didn't sell at that price. What do you think a reasonable number is? And I turn it right back around. He goes, well, we have to get somewhere near that. And I said, how's 700? He goes, absolutely not. No way. One of the partners calls me back the next day. This is for a 7-lot development project. I'm hunting for one of our investors. This is not me personally. I know what he wants. He's on the whiteboard. He's on the list. This is under the wants category. And he says, hey, find me anywhere between 5 to 20 units. Find the 7-lot off the market. Call him. One of the partners calls me. He goes, I want to get out. I heard you spoke with one of the other partners. Your offer's too low, but I want to get out. I said, well, what's a reasonable offer to you? He goes, 800. Oh, we're making progress. We just saved 100 grand. So we can't do it. Numbers don't make sense. And he says, okay, let me talk with my partners. 3 days goes by. Calls me back. And he goes, you know what? What could you do? I said, 725. He goes, let me call you back. Calls him back the next day. 750. I said, I'll send you an offer right now for 750. So we took $150,000 off the price that it was on the market because we were able to have a discussion with the seller directly because it was no longer listed. Sometimes, don't get me wrong, I'm an agent, but sometimes the agent is doing their client a disservice because they're not asking for the price reduction. They're not asking for any deal that comes their way, and they're not opening a negotiation dialogue. There's 3 investors in this, and I was sitting there calling through the list of the people who own the property and asking each one of them if they wanted to put a deal together. We were able to create a deal that was still a win-win because it was overpriced when it was on the market. So we're buying it for a good value. We're not scalping them by any means. The investor is not, going to cut the only side of this deal. This is a good deal for both parties. They're getting a good value. The investor's getting a good value. So you just need to go hunt for these deals because they are out there and they've already raised their hand and said, I want to sell.
So what I'm hearing is, to summarize, unique ways to find off-market deals and make it into a deal. Look for properties that go off-market for whatever reason. Make the phone call. Ask questions. Listen, don't talk, right? Shut up. Connect the buyers with the sellers and repeat.
Yes. That's it. If you've got your hunting list available, you go hunting for what that person or what you specifically want and be willing to ask direct questions with care. I care about you, but I need to be candid about my offer. And you just say it with empathy and authority. That's the key. You can't be rude. You have to be understanding because they're humans, but you also have to say it with some authority. Your price was too high. This is what we'd like to offer. What are your thoughts in regards to that? That's how you glue these together. And then as you start to get them moving, you say, you know what? Let me put an offer in front of you and let's discuss this with everyone. Boom, getting deals. It's that simple. And this is why do we overcomplicate this? It's find a willing seller, find a willing buyer, connect them. That buyer can be one of our investors or it could be you personally. But you have to make the contact and make the connection.
I'm laughing because I know there's people that are turned off by agents, just the whole salesman, the whole spiel and everything. But I guess a different perspective to have as an agent or even just as an investor. Maybe you're a young person that wants to get into the game. You don't have any money, but you want to find the deals because that's what the people with money don't have. They need the deals. That seller that went from MLS to off market, maybe doing for sale by owner, whatever the circumstances. They might be annoyed by you the first time, right?
Yes.
But it's important to make that follow-up, second call, third call, fourth call. Because you know what they won't be annoyed by? You getting their house sold or helping them to avoid a $100,000 loss later.
Bingo.
This is why it's important as an agent to know your stuff. Know the stats. That's why, hey, you guys should hit up Anton, that phone number, that email to get this information, whether you're an agent or a investor, just somebody that wants to, find deals, because you could actually be helping people with the biggest investment of their life, with their biggest nest egg, potentially help them protect their wealth, protect their retirement. And at first, you might come off as this like annoying sales guy or agent that's bothering them. But I'm looking at you, Anton, because I know that you don't care about what that perspective is or perception is at first, because you typically, if you do ink the deal or make it happen, you become their best friend.
Absolutely.
Because no one else was willing to be patient. So don't put too much weight on that first phone call. But the first phone call is important because it leads into the second one and the third one. And usually it's like the fourth or fifth one, you start getting the juicy stuff. That's going to not only tell you what is going to motivate them, but what's going to help them.
Bingo. A good analogy to think about this is your first phone call is like a run play in football. Your whole job is to make it past those 2 yards and not get tackled. Once you make it past the first phone call, the first appointment, and now all of a sudden the field is opening up, we're getting into options. We're able to create options. Everyone's first initial response to everything is no. That's okay. That's their first initial response. That's normal. That's human. It's yours. If you're listening to it, every time someone says, do you need help with something? You say no, but the reality is you actually need help. It's humans, okay? So we go, no, that's coming. Sidestep around the tackle coming directly at you, the 320-pound lineman. Now I've got options. I have places to go. And realize that they're also going through an emotional cycle. Real estate, unfortunately, because it is one of the third largest causes of stress, investors go through emotional cycles too. They go through euphoria, complete depression. Everything is working. This will never work. And they just bounce up and down like a heartbeat. So when that deal got canceled off the MLS and it came back to them, they're in the depression zone. They're at the bottom of that valley. You got to help them get back into the dream zone at the top of that mountain, which is like you were just saying. It's going to happen by building a relationship, being a good guy, and having good conversations. And if you'd like to know more about having these good conversations, please reach out to us. We've been having these good conversations for decades now. If you want to hear more about it, hit the subscribe button. We're going to keep talking about this. This is the same game we've been playing for 20 years. It hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is technology. But it's still the same game. It's the same thing we've said. It's the same routines. It's the same deals. Technology has been the only variable that's changed.
I feel like that you hit that third last topic.
Yeah.
Awesome. That was just really basically about the mindset, and that's what people need right now. In fact, these sellers and buyers and investors need more agents, more serious professionals, because right now we're weeding out all the wannabes, and who's left are the people playing the game at the highest level, even if it doesn't seem like it's a fun game to play right now.
I'm going to flip it around. Real estate's the best game to play right now, especially for my investors. Come on, people, let's go. Second, the people who are playing the game, if they are a real estate agent or broker and they are doing business today, those are the professionals. Everyone else is not doing any business. You want to know if they are? Send me a copy of everything you've sold in the last 90 days. If there's nothing, that's not the professional. Okay? If they're new, give them grace. They could, just be starting. But the reality is we have a scorecard. It's public. Play with the professionals. Find the deals. This is the land of the deals.
We'll see you guys next week.
Perfect.